Okay.
Three, three, two, one. All right. How's everybody doing? We are on a podcast and an educational interview that we're doing with Kae Hovater. I got it right.
You
Perfect.
got
That's
it
how we
right.
roll.
Perfect. Yeah.
So if you don't know who I am, my name is Franklin Cruz from True Investors Development. Today I'm excited because I've got Kae on the line, and we're going to be talking about wetland credits and why it's important. If you are a real estate investor or developer, you need to have somebody like Kae on your team and on speed dial 100%. Like if you're gonna have to do smoke, like the smoke schemes back in the day with the Indians, where they're like, "Hey, I need help. I've got a wetland issue. What do I do? Who do I buy credits from?" Kay is the person. She is amazing. We've actually bought wetland credits from her on a project, and we're working with her on other projects as well. And she's just a wealth of knowledge. And as I grow on the developing side, what I've learned is it is beyond crucial to have somebody like Kay on your team, on my team, and if you're a developer or an investor, on your team as well. So that is what we're talking about today, and it is going to be, grab a pen, paper, crayon, whatever you've got, take a whole bunch of notes, because this is going to be super fascinating, because you need to understand. This is just a component that you're not even going to understand as a developer until you need it. And then when you need it, it slaps you on the face, almost like, you've ever ate like barbecue with macaroni and cheese and it has a little bit of lobster in it. Like it smacks you on the face like that, like grandma made it. Like that's the kind of smack. Okay. All right. So Kay, let's talk about you.
Sure.
A little bit about her background that I did some research. Okay. Check this out. All right. Okay. Kay is a Florida native. She's been in business for 15 plus years in the natural resource trading industry. Kay, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. She founded EcoCredit Marketing. She specializes in marketing and sales of wetlands, streams, and a whole bunch of other things dealing with mitigation banking credits. Okay, I can't even, some of these words, if I can't
Good
spell
enough.
it or
Yes.
pronounce it, I just don't say it. Okay, that's what the rule of thumb. Her firm represents banks in 11 different states, and she has facilitated over $100 million in credit transactions. She has conducted over 60 unique in-depth marketing demand analysis, and her research skills is freaking amazing. You definitely do not want her pissed off against you. And so she is also a 3-term president of the Florida Association of Mitigating Bankers, and also has served as a first executive director, and also sits on the board of the Florida Local Environmental Research Agency. Okay, perfect. I think
That
that's
was a
about.
mouthful, right?
Yes, I got a lot in there. Okay, great. So this is all about UK. So
Yeah.
tell me first, did I miss anything? I'm sure there's a lot more we're going to talk about.
I think you hit it all. I mean, the bottom line is I've been in the mitigation banking industry since 2009, and have kind of just grown up and evolved with the industry. I mean, it started off in the early 90s. I
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
around then. Yeah. I wasn't involved with it then, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I remember
definitely
the
got to see it.
90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't we all?
Yes.
Um,
So where did you grow up originally from?
Well, I've kind of been all over. I first started in the Clearwater area, and then when I was 7, moved up to North Florida, just outside of Gainesville, in a very,
Okay.
very, very rural county, very rural area called Branford, which is way down on the Swanee River. I don't know
Okay,
if
got
anybody,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I
So,
definitely have no clue about the Swanee River, but yeah, it's got to be
well,
far.
there's a very famous song called "Way Down on the Swanee River," written by Stephen Foster. So
Oh,
you should
snap.
look it
Okay.
up. Yeah,
I
yeah.
did not know.
The things
Big
you're going to
deal.
learn today.
Yes, we're learning a lot. So look, before the environmental space, I know you were working in the foster care and social services. What kind of
Yeah.
drew you from that to wetland credits? Like that's got to be a pretty, big difference
Yeah,
here.
it is a massive difference. Yeah, so I kind of can back up a little bit. First of all, I have a degree in psychology, and when I first started off, thought I was going to like save all these kids, right? Like that,
Yeah.
yeah, well, came from broken homes. couldn't be maintained in a home. So I worked in, as you mentioned, in foster care or with at-risk kids for about 10 years,
Okay. That's
which
awesome.
kind of shows my age a bit, but that's okay.
It's all right.
Um,
We're not
that's
here to
right.
talk about that.
So
Yeah.
no, so I will tell you that that was as, in some aspects as fulfilling as it was, very, very stressful, lots of hard work,
Mm.
24/7, because I did a lot of like placement of foster kids that were, very difficult to place. And so anyways, it came to a point in my life where, I started having kids of my own and felt like I was neglecting them, to some aspect. And I'm like, this just didn't
Okay.
make sense. So, decided that, it was time to take a break and spend a little bit of time with my own kids.
Yeah.
And then I'll be honest, I had never even heard of the word wetland. This is not like an industry I went and sought out. It kind of fell in my lap, to be quite honest. I
Okay.
don't, you can kind of just say like the universe kind of plopped it there.
Yeah.
And
You said
as
wetlands. Boom. Here you go.
boom, here you go.
Yeah.
I know
No
you know nothing
boots. No
about
boots. High heels and
nothing,
everything.
nothing, nothing, nothing. And I started off, it
Interesting.
was, yeah. So somebody I knew actually referred me to a lady that had started her own company. She was kind of the one that I would say forged, marketing for mitigation bank credits in the
Okay.
90s.
Okay.
Especially she was a bit of a pioneer, to that end in
Mm.
Florida. So she happened to live in the same city I did, Claremont.
Okay.
And yeah, and she was looking for somebody to kind of help her out, especially
And
on
how
the
did you guys
resource side.
connect? Were you guys like what? You guys met at Wendy's or something in Frosties? I mean, what happened?
Well, so we actually met at the local library. A shout out to libraries. We love them.
Okay. Physical
Yeah,
books
yeah,
are in. That's what I'm
yeah,
talking
that's
about.
right. So we met at yes, and we had a little
Side note,
chit
I heard
chat.
you're writing a book as well coming up. Is that accurate?
Stay
Is that
tuned.
like
I know
okay?
that's
All right.
word on the street is that's happening. It's in development as
Okay.
we
All
speak.
right.
Yeah,
Interesting. All right,
I
keep
know.
it. Let's keep on. Let's keep on going.
Yeah.
So
So
you
yeah,
guys were reading a book. You were reading about Stephen King. She was reading about the mafia.
no,
You guys
it was a
linked
purposeful
up in the
meeting.
aisle.
Yeah, I wish it was more fortuitous than that, but it was a purposeful meeting where, it's actually her nanny I went to church with that introduced us.
Okay,
And
fancy. She got
yeah,
a nanny and everything.
she had a
Okay.
nanny and everything. So yeah, anyway, we did the interview and that was in like early November of 2009. And by the end of that month, I got hired and it was really a 1 day a week kind of situation. And I was
Okay.
really focused more on, doing the market research,
Okay.
for, yeah. So that, and when I say market research, that's for, these mitigation banks, right? And
Okay.
trying to determine where, like, the right market that they should be in where to
That
sell
makes sense.
credits.
Yeah, that makes
And
a
we
lot of
can
sense.
kind of delve a little bit more into that. But yeah, so anyway, long story short, 1 day a week. In fact, it was on Mondays. That's I
Yeah.
would go into her office and honestly kind of just happened to learn a lot from her, listening to her
Interesting.
on calls,
Yeah.
um, kind of just as I was doing the research, just started to kind of absorb, quickly learn what a wetland was and why
Yeah.
they matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, just kind of start absorbed it all. And yeah, so
Interesting.
that's really where, yeah, I would say it found me. I didn't seek it out, it found me. So
Interesting. So now, obviously, you've been building this business for a while now, correct?
yeah,
What kind of what struggles, if any, have you ever been through? I guess with starting the
yeah,
business, through this business. This is kind of talking to the entrepreneur who's watching as well. They're mostly it's
yeah,
probably going to be real estate guys or women or developers and women or
yeah.
just some entrepreneurs. Like, did you ever go through any struggles or is it just rosy or what happened?
I think all of us could say there's always moments of struggle, right? And
Hmm.
I think the key is to not really look at it as a struggle, but as a challenge and an opportunity to grow, right?
Yeah.
And so, I worked for her for 10 years. So, and I have to say, I was thinking about this morning. Um, there was a lot of struggle just in that year, those 10 years of working there,
So you
mostly
worked
because,
10 years with her.
correct. Yes,
Wow. Okay. So
and
you were
kind of
really
my role
interesting.
evolved over time, I will say. I didn't start working for her full time until about 5 or 6 years in.
Wow.
Um,
So you were really learning like some serious skill sets and doing it
yeah,
part
but
time.
right. And I will say I've always had this tendency
Interesting.
to be of a leadership and, really had more of a leadership role. And I am saying this to say, like, don't give up hope. But I remember moments of kind of struggling and being kind of frustrated because I wasn't feeling mentally challenged. I'm like, I know I can do so much better than what this is offering.
Yeah.
But I also had kids at home and,
Yeah.
so the struggle was real.
Yeah.
And especially just the mental struggle because you're like, I know I have so much more to offer
Hmm.
than what I'm being allowed to do here. And in
Interesting.
fact, at one time was even like overlooked for, and she ended up hiring somebody to do business development that ironically didn't work out. And I kind of like slipped in and kind of just made my own path. And
Okay.
it honestly,
Interesting.
that one's an interesting story that I tell a lot just because it was the one thing that gave me confidence to be like, you know what, I can really do this. It was
Hmm.
it was honestly a cold call reach out to Lakeland Linder Airport. Shout out
Okay.
to them. And to
Got
Gene
it.
Conrad,
Okay.
he was the airport director at the
They're
time.
expanding as well. You may want to follow up with them, just FYI.
Well, we're so ironically, or not so much ironically, I helped them. I provided a lot of wetland credits to that airport. They knew this expansion was coming,
So stop
and
for a second. I'm gonna stop you for a second because
yeah,
we're
yeah,
we're digging into the wetlands, but we haven't even really explained what the hell wetlands are. So, can you
yeah,
give me like I'm
yeah.
10 years old. What is a wetland mitigation credit? What does that actually mean in English? What is that,
So let's
and why
kind
is
of
it
just
important
make
as
it,
well?
yeah. So let's just kind of think of it very simply. And here's a simple explanation, and it doesn't encompass everything a wetland is, but just think of wetlands as like nature's kidneys. Okay. It's the
Okay,
filtering system for
got it.
water.
Got it.
So it
Okay,
it
so it's a
provides,
filtering system for water. Got it.
yeah, so it provides like water quality, so cleaning, so make
Okay.
sure that we have clean water to drink,
Okay.
and habitat for, animals. And so there's a lot of, and actually helps with flood control, too. So there's a lot of benefits to wetlands.
Okay.
And yep. And so just overall, and just in the contiguous 48 states, we've
Yeah.
lost over half of our wetlands in the last 20 years.
Wow. Interesting.
So yeah,
So
so
why is this
yeah, and
important for a developer? Why is
so
wetlands like a big deal?
there are, of course, rules and laws in effect on a federal level and on a state level. So Florida has some pretty stringent rules as far
Okay.
as if you want to develop
Yeah.
and you impact wetlands,
Yeah.
you have to mitigate for those. And so there's a
Okay.
bit of a hierarchy in that. So like
Interesting.
you're going to have to avoid the impacts as much as you can, right? Because we want
Okay.
to preserve this as much as we possibly can. And yeah, spoiler alert, Florida's a swamp, right? So that means
Yeah.
lots of wetlands all around. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Swampland is a thing.
swampland is a thing.
Yeah.
And,
I heard you like the gators as well. Is that kind of why
I
you got
mean,
into it? Is the gators?
it wasn't the reason why, but shout out to University of Florida.
Okay,
So
Tim
yeah, yeah,
Tebow, if you're listening, I'm still a fan. All right, keep on going.
yeah, yeah. So as we've developed over the years, that the
Uh-huh.
raw land, like the uplands where it's dirt, not
Yeah.
it's harder and harder to avoid wetlands, and especially like in Central and South Florida, where we're living in a
Yeah.
more developed area. The
Okay.
likelihood's very, very strong that you're going to hit wetlands. Even, what I
Interesting.
deal with a lot is the single family homeowners that are trying to build just their own house or build a driveway. And guess what? There's a wetland smack in their property. And
Got it.
so even though those people have to be cognizant and aware of what a wetland is. I mean, it's kind of like the whole point of this podcast is, if you're not aware of it, it's going to really kind of smack you in the face, and you're going to end
Yeah.
up spending money that you didn't prepare for.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, and I
And it
think
catches you off guard. So I can
it does.
share, if I could add to what you're saying. So as a
Absolutely.
developer, the way that we actually connected was, so I'm working on with a client and we're doing a dentist office, and we knew we had, so if as a developer, okay, so when we're looking at raw land, a part of our checklist is we have this due diligence checklist, right? Hey, what's our idea for this, for the vision of this raw land? What do we want to do, right? So this particular one, we knew we wanted to do a dentist office and a commercial building, 6,000 square foot building. And it's right off of a main strip, right? So now that's one. And then you have to do a topo boundary tree survey, right? Then you got to do an ESA 1, ESA 2. That means environmental site assessment, phase 1, phase 2. Then you got to do a geotech of where you think you want this structure to be and what kind of borings do you want to get done, right? And then you're going through environmentals. So what happens, and is there any kind of easement? So there's these long checklists for us as developers that we're doing during a due diligence. And then sometimes we may miss some things. And so what I mean by missing, which now I have it on my checklist now is added, is, when you're calling in through your environmental, you're not, there's wetlands there, but a lot of times you're just like, oh, well, we're not going to do anything with those wetlands. We're good. We're not going to do anything. And then you have a meeting with the city or the county, and then the county or the planning department says, oh no, you are impacting. And we're like, okay, so what? We're impacting. It's our land. We can do whatever we want. And then you come to find out, well, hell no, you're going to have to follow their rules. And then you have to get permission from SwiftMud, which is an organization here in Florida. Every state may have a different, if you have wetlands, every state probably has a different organization that has alphabet numbers inside of it. So just FYI.
Yeah,
And
acronyms are big in our industry for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm all about it. Yeah, military background here.
Yeah.
And so then when they said, hey, you need to buy wetlands, then the environmental consultant was like, oh, well, you need to link up with X, whoever they're referring, right? And then they said, when we called different people, and Kae, by far, her company was, or her specifically, was beyond responsive, super fast to do the research, super easy to work with. Like, these are all the check boxes, right? And so for me, as a developer in Florida, then I come to find out, like, then there was another property I was dealing with that had wetlands also. And so we're like, okay, this could be a thing in the future that I think I may need to like understand more of what is happening and what is a mitigation bank and how do credits work. And when we dealt with that on this particular project that we're still going through, then Kae gave me some wisdom that I didn't even think about, which is like, hey, probably you want to they have a limit on what you buy on your credits, because some mitigation banks have a limit on what you could buy. Like you have to buy $25,000 or they're, for a minimum of 25 grand. This is what happened. And then we're like, we're only going to give you 0.03 credits. It's not even a full credit. And then come and find out, because this mitigation bank had a monopoly. Give me one second. My AI, there we go. Had a mini monopoly on this mitigation bank, which then we'll talk about the different wetlands. They charge $500,000 an acre. And so then you have to piece it out. And Kae gave us the wisdom of say, hey, see if you're ever going to expand in the future, you might as well buy up to the amount that they're saying is your limit, but just buy all those credits if you can. So we actually increase for the same price. We were able to increase almost 70% more of our credits for the exact same price because of her wisdom. And then the more I talked to her, the more I was like, oh man, this is fascinating. I think more people in my world need to truly understand, wetland credits and then who's good to work with, who's not, because it's just like you're dealing with different developers. Some are shady as shit, and some of them are like great human beings that you're like, oh my God, I want this person on my team forever, right? Like 100%, whatever you need, here's 3 café con leches and some donut, whatever you want, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to share a little bit of a background of that.
For sure.
um,
Yeah.
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 So anything you want to add to that? I know I said a lot, but it was like that was such a experience for me, and I had such a pleasurable experience with you, and it's always
Thank
has been
you.
that way. And
Yeah,
it's a
thanks.
rarity. No, no problem at all. It's a rarity because what I have found in business, it's harder to find people with integrity than without. I'll say it one more time. It's
Amen.
harder to find people with integrity than without. So when you find somebody with integrity, you're like, man, I'm going to do everything I can to keep that,
Hmm.
good graces with that person.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yep.
go ahead. You can share whatever you want. I just want to share,
No,
like,
no.
this is how we met.
Yeah, absolutely. No. And yeah, I that was a fun experience for me. And I will say, like, get I have to deal with that day in and day out, you know. I mean, even like today, I mean, every day it's usually either very small developers or like I said, it's people that are building homes that reach out. And,
Yeah,
I treat everybody the same because,
yeah,
honestly, that it all comes back one way or the other. And that's kind of the foundation that I built my, company on. And I know the question that you asked that kind of we got sidetracked on is the challenges, right?
yeah,
Um, and part of the challenges is kind of figuring out who has integrity and who doesn't and dealing with it, right?
yeah,
Because to your point, you expect everybody to be the same way you are. So when you're
yeah,
doing business and especially your own business, you kind of have that expectation, especially when you first start off, that you know
hmm,
what, this is how I approach things, and I just assume that that's how everybody is. I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be
yeah,
forthright and I'm going to just like tell you like it is. I'm not going to shade anything to or tell you what I think you want to hear.
yeah,
That's kind of always been my approach. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. And it's very easy and a challenge, I would say, that when I first started out with my own business is learning that, right?
yeah,
Accepting it and
yeah,
then just navigating it, right? And here's the thing that I think is important when you own your own business, and especially when you first start off, you're kind of anxious, right? You think, oh, I got to get money in, I got to get money in. And
yeah.
so
You
you're
got to
like, I
survive.
have to
Don't get
say
it.
yes to
Yeah,
everything, right?
yeah, yeah.
And,
And don't get it. I
and
think there's a place for that in the beginning. Like if you got to put the oxygen mask on, do you, boo boo?
absolutely,
Nobody is denying
100%.
you at all.
And I think that's all part of the learning process too, right? That helps you kind of figure out person A is a yes, person B is a no, right?
Yes, yes,
So I think that is kind of like you do say yes because you kind of like, well, I don't know what's coming around the corner. What if nothing's around the corner? So I kind of
yeah,
take because,
yeah,
and then what happens is you're like overwhelmed because you're juggling so many different things at
yeah,
once, right? So
yeah,
that's its
yeah,
own pressure in and of itself. And then as time kind of goes on, you kind of figure out and realize, you know what? I get to choose who I get to work for, right? That's one
yes,
of the biggest benefits of owning your own business is like, you know what? If so and so doesn't have the integrity, or if they don't, emulate the person that I am,
yeah,
then I can choose not to work with that person. And guess
yeah,
what? It's going to
100%.
be okay. It's going to
Yeah,
be okay because,
yeah,
and I kind of say this a lot. There's plenty to go around for everybody, right?
I agree.
I don't have to, sell credits for every single mitigation bank out there. I don't have to, that's not a requirement. What is a requirement is for me to stay true to myself.
I love that. I love that.
Right.
So let's go back to a couple things. Number one, let's go back to the airport because I know you
Yeah.
worked with some really big clients, but can you
Yeah.
explain there are different types of mitigation banks and explain what is a mitigation bank? And then there's different types of it. There's I guess the halabashis, whatever,
Herb. Yeah. So there's
same
different
thing.
types of
Yeah.
credits. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of big
It's
word. I,
complex. Yes,
yeah.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
It could be like its own, hence the book, right?
Yeah,
And
there
that's
should
why.
definitely. Yeah, I can't wait until you come up with like you probably should just
Yeah,
have your own damn dictionary about it too,
yeah, yeah.
because it's like it's super it's so fascinating. If you're a developer, you're just like, oh wow, this is a thing, and this is going to be a thing. If you choose to be a developer until you meet the creator, like you're gonna deal with this at one point. because it's just a part of the numbers. Like,
for sure.
especially if you're
The
in,
odds
I
are
think they,
not, yeah, the odds are in
yeah,
your
if you're in
favor.
the, I think they call it what, the Sunbelt. If you're in the Sunbelt area, which is like Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, all that, like you're gonna deal with it. Period.
100%. Yeah,
Okay, so
especially
go ahead.
any coastal states are gonna, for sure, right? Because
hmm
wetlands, water, just think of those
So,
things.
what
And
different types of wetlands are there?
yeah, so in Florida, and I will say throughout the United States, it's kind of, you know, it's done differently. Some states just do flat out wetlands and make it
Okay.
easy peasy.
Yeah.
Florida, for all intensive purposes, you've got categories and then you've got subcategories. So you
Okay.
have what's called freshwater wetlands, first and foremost.
Okay.
That's category one, freshwater, and that of course
Okay.
is inland, right? So Polk County, like
Got it.
Lakeland, where you sit. Yep.
Yep.
All of that would be freshwater, right? You're not on the
Okay.
coast. You're not,
hmm
right? So you have freshwater wetlands, and then you have what's called saltwater or estuarine.
So,
I think we all know
freshwater,
what's
saltwater,
saltwater. So
and you
obviously
said
saltwater.
estrogen. What did you say? You said est.
It's just
No.
it's another. So it's called.
Okay.
We're not going to get to, but it's called estuarine or saltwater. So for today's purposes, the simplistic term is saltwater. We all know what
Got
that
it.
is, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So
kind of like in
ocean.
my world, you could say you have zoning by right, or you could call it Euclidean zoning. I personally think Euclidean zoning's a hilarious word, and I have no idea why the hell they did
It
that.
sounds very like you know what you're talking about when you say
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I
Like
mean, it all matters where you're
you
at talking
you're the
about it.
master. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just saying by right. That's all. I mean, it's like you have a right. That's it. You just have zoning by right.
Yes.
Okay, let's keep on
Yeah.
going. So we've got
So okay. So you have
herbaceous,
freshwater. So you have
freshwater,
freshwater.
saltwater.
So you have freshwater and saltwater, and
Yep.
then subcategories of each is forested or
Forested.
herbaceous.
Okay,
Okay.
so if it's a subcategory, a freshwater subcategory is what? What's the sub?
Forested, forested,
Forested.
which
Yep.
sounds just like it is. It's trees, right?
Got it.
Trees.
Okay. Forested.
And
Got
then
it.
forested, so like cypress, pine,
Okay.
trees. All right.
Super cool. All right.
Yep. And then the herbaceous, right?
Herba. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that's herbaceous is the other part.
If
And
I
that
could
just
blush
think
right now, I would be. All right. Thank you so much. I'm herbaceous.
you're herbaceous, which that's more like a plant based. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
So yeah.
Herbaceous plant based. Okay.
Yeah. So it is super important. And I will say, like, again, happened today. A lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, I need wetland credits. Do you have any? And one of the biggest questions I ask is like, do you know if you need forested or if you need herbaceous? Because
Of course, they have no idea what they're doing. They
they,
don't even know what that.
yes. And a lot of times even their consultants don't even tell them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you have to know this. Like, this is like, I can't, because you have to like for like, just think like for like. We want to replace what we're impacting. That's
Got it.
kind of the rule of thumb.
That makes
So
sense.
super important to know what kind of wetlands are on site. So
Okay. So
yeah,
now you've got these credits or these different types of wetlands, right? And
yep.
so I found out I have a site, right? Or I need the wetlands. Like, walk me through the process of, like, I know I need wetlands to then I contact you. Then what happens? Like, what's this process?
Yeah. So I've kind of seen it happen multiple ways, right?
Okay.
Kind of what happened with you is you already had an idea. I think you may have already had like an environmental consultant that kind of,
Yeah, we did. hmm
yeah. Well, sometimes I have people that come to me and they're just like, I have wetlands. I want to build. Can I buy credits? And I'm like, ho, ho, ho. We have to
Yeah.
like start from the very beginning, right? And
Yeah. So it's
um,
not like, oh, great. Well, your credit card number is what, So,
yeah, I mean,
like, there's more to it.
yeah, I do want to help you, but there is a process, right? And as you alluded to earlier, there is regulatory agencies. This is again very much regulated, so you cannot just start digging, right?
Yeah.
One very, very, very important thing is, especially if you're in Florida, don't start digging before you know what you got on site, right?
Got it.
Because you will get in trouble.
Okay.
Neighbors tell on neighbors all of the time. And that ends up being super expensive because you're going to get
Okay.
fined. Um, and
Interesting.
yeah, so you're going to get, so DEP, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, is kind of our lead regulatory agency for Florida. And
Okay.
they're the ones that implement this rule, this law that says you cannot impact wetlands without obviously mitigating, right? You have to prove
Interesting.
that, hey, I've avoided as much as I possibly could.
Okay.
And if I've minimized my impact, and then, okay, I'm gonna mitigate. So
Got it.
first and foremost, you need to seek permission. And that's going through your regulatory agencies, the appropriate ones. So let me kind of
Okay.
explain really quick. So I
Yeah.
said Florida Department of Environmental Protection is what we're calling the parent agency. So they've been tasked with overseeing the wetland regulation program, right?
Okay.
Well, as you mentioned, there's 5 water management districts that sit underneath this parent DEP, right? One of them
Okay.
is,
Got it.
you mentioned Swift Mud or Southwest Florida Water Management District. All
Yeah.
right, so they're tasked with implementing these permits. So if you're a commercial or residential development, or you know that things like that, you're going to have to go through the water management districts to get permission. You have to get what's called an environmental resource permit
Got it.
to impact these wetlands. If
Mhm.
you're a mining company, if you're a single family homeowner, I'm wanting to build a driveway, build a house, then you're going to go through DEP, or Florida Department of Environmental Protection, to get your environmental resource, to get permission, basically.
Got it.
Okay.
So I gotta
So
get my permission slip.
you have to get a permission slip. I highly recommend getting an environmental consultant involved, because what's going to happen is they're going to have to go out and survey
Yeah,
what kind of
we had to deal
soils
with
you
that.
have, where, like, the quality of wetlands on site, depending
Yeah.
on, there's a range of things that they're looking for, right?
And
And
on the
so,
developer side, just FYI, if you're a developer listening to this, you want to make sure that if you can tell them specifically as well, like don't assume that they're gonna check the soils, that they're gonna check what's possible, what kind of wetlands that you need. Like typically, like don't assume that, because what I found out was we assumed, and then they didn't do that, and then we had to bring them back out. And so what happened is that they charged us again,
mhm,
so because we're assuming like, hey, just take care of this, right? And but we don't even know what we don't know, right?
yeah,
So that's kind of why I wanted, just the whole purpose of this is because this is kind of a left field thing that you're not thinking about until you need it, and then you're like, God dang, I had to spend $30,000 on this. This is
yeah,
ridiculous,
yeah, yeah.
or even way more. And out
Hmm.
of nowhere. So
Hmm.
okay, keep on going. I just wanted to kind of
No,
chime in.
yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, so the environmental consultant's going to go out and they're going to do an assessment to determine, they're going to see the acres of wetland on site, that
Yep.
quality of any kind of connectivity that it may have, and then they're going to say, okay, this is your acreage, and then
Yep.
this is the number of credits. So they're going to do an assessment that's going to give you what we call a functional loss. So you impacting X acres of wetlands is going to create a functional loss so we're losing these wetlands, right? No more kidneys for our water,
Yeah.
right, right.
Hmm.
So we have to offset that. The Fed rule is no net loss. So if we're making an impact, we have to do the same thing to make. So we have a functional loss, we've got to get a functional gain to offset it, so there's no net loss. Okay.
Okay.
So, um,
And can you break that down one more time, but act like not 10, but 5, because I do not understand that either.
okay. So, well, and here's the other thing I wanted to kind of emphasize too, is a loss of an acre. So you impact, right?
Mhm.
Water, but
Yes.
it's not going to be able to function as a kidney
Okay.
for our resource. It's not going to do that
Yes.
because you're filling it in with dirt, right? To
Uh-huh.
build whatever you need to do.
Hmm.
So what you do here, right, on your site
Yep.
has to be offset
Okay.
the same amount, or okay, so that there's what we're calling a no net loss. It's going to be equal. So no, it was almost as if it didn't happen. Does
Got
that
it.
make
Okay.
sense?
That
Yep.
makes a lot more sense.
All right. And one thing haven't mentioned that I think is super, super important to know is
Mhm.
the rule is that you need to stay in the same, what we're calling a watershed. Okay. So
Okay.
for instance, you're in Lakeland and you're doing an impact. You can't mitigate for that impact. That means you can't buy credits. You can't offset it
Yeah.
um, with bank credits in Melbourne or
Okay.
even in oh, I don't know, like in Volusia County. Like it's not going to
So it's got
happen
to
in
be one,
Miami.
a
It
one
has
for
to be,
one
yeah, and it has to
on,
be close to where that impact happened. That mitigation needs to be as close as possible within a
yeah,
watershed. Okay.
a
So
watershed. So what is that? So that's like a radius of what, 2 miles, 3 miles, 10 miles, 15? How does that work?
I wish it was that simple to say, but
They used
I'm
to say
gonna
that as the crow flies. You ever heard that one?
I have heard of that.
Okay.
Um, it's honestly, watersheds are broken up, and it would probably be a little bit too hard for a 5-year-old to understand. I
Damn
can tell
it.
you this, I know, I'm sorry. I can
Ridiculous.
tell you that it varies. So, watersheds are kind of broken up by, just think of like, so where you sit is in what's called the Alafaya River
Okay.
Basin, right?
Yep.
So it's and so there's a boundary, a topographic. So there's a boundary. It's invisible. It's not like you can go outside
Yeah.
and see some line that
Mhm.
says, oh, okay, I'm in the Peace River Basin here, and I'm in the Alafaya River Basin here, right?
Okay. Got
Um,
it.
so it's divvied up by watersheds. We want the mitigation to occur as close to the impact so that we're doing that equal offset.
So it's close to the impact, but it's got to be that type of wetland. So this is
Like for like, yes.
saltwater,
Saltwater.
herbaceous. This is it. But if it is freshwater, the other type, then we got to go. And what if there is none? Like you got to go further out. You're allowed to go further
Right.
out.
So there's a new law that was passed in July that started July 1st of last year that does allow you
Okay.
to go outside of what we call an adjacent watershed if there's no like mitigation bank credits available in your watershed.
Got it. So
Yes.
then you're allowed to go further out.
But
Okay.
the idea is to still keep it as close as you can to the impacts. So we're
Hmm.
not, again, impacting in Lakeland and mitigating in Gainesville. Not going to
Got it.
happen. Right. So
Okay.
we want to keep it as close as possible.
So I'm definitely getting a clear picture on what you have. So basically, if you have your development, kind of like we did, hire the environmental specialist, tell
Yes.
him specifically, hey, what kind of wetlands do we have? Then you could say, okay,
So,
what, and then
mhm,
contact you if we want to develop on that. We're going to actually
correct.
have to get a wetland credit, and then we're reaching out to like your agency, and then you're
Yes.
saying, okay, this is the basin or bison that's close by. This is what it would cost. Am I close?
You're close. So
Okay.
you're already in that permitting process. We talked about that. You're
Yes.
getting
Yes.
permission from the regulators. So you're in
Yep.
that process.
Because you
Both
can't
the
buy it without the regulator saying this is
You
how
have to
much
have,
you're allowed to buy.
to your point, you have to have that permission slip, which is that environmental resource permit, right? And so
Got it.
probably midway, maybe a little past midway through your permitting process,
Yeah.
the regulator is going to tell you, okay, now it's time for you to show me how you're going to mitigate. We've approved the impacts. We know
Yeah.
I'm going to make this up. We know that you're going to impact, let's just say an acre, right? Well, one of the things that's kind of a misconception, especially in Florida, a misconception is if I'm impacting an acre, I have to buy one credit. And typically, in fact, probably rarely, if ever, is it going to be that easy and that simple.
Oh,
That's,
okay.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
This is
So
great.
one
So it's a lot
acre,
harder than
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
thinks. Great.
yeah. So, yeah. So 1 acre does not equal one credit. And I get
Okay.
that question almost on a daily basis. And
Okay.
so kind of the rule of thumb I tell clients prior to, if they're just trying to get budgets worked out, figure out, hey, about how much is it going to, they're doing in their due diligence phase. The rule
Yeah.
of thumb that I think might be helpful to your listeners is to kind of think, okay, 1 acre is going to be about 0.6 or 0.7 credits.
Okay, so let's say this again. So 1 acre is typically 0.6
So
or zero
six
point
tenths
0.7
of an
credits.
acre. Yeah. So six.
Got it.
So just if you're gonna if I because most people think not credits, they think acres, right?
Yeah,
So
of
maybe the
course.
easiest way is zero point 0.6, zero point 0.7 acres would
Yeah.
be a credit, right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, miles and kilometers, right? So, if you're
Correct.
going
It's
60
it's
miles
hard
per
to
hour, you're going
right,
like,
right,
45 kilometers or whatever they say that in
right.
Europe, I believe. Okay, this is making a lot more sense. And so that's on the wetland credit side, right?
Mhm.
But as a developer, there are some other items that come up that we need to know about too, which I haven't dealt with yet. But can you tell me the difference between wetland credit, stream credit, species credit?
Sure.
And yeah,
Yeah. So
and there's no like child sacrifice on the species credit, right? This is a
there's none,
okay.
no,
Okay,
actually.
just want to make sure.
So yeah, and species, I
Let
will
me
say
check that off real
species
quick.
conservation credits are very unique.
Okay,
And honestly, every state's a little different. So in Florida, we don't have stream credits, right? We even if there are technically streams in Florida, but those are kind of just housed under the wetland credits. So
got it.
um, you can check that one like not don't one thing I don't have to worry about today list.
Okay,
Okay. In Florida, you do have a few species or what we're calling conservation banks, and those are kind of like just think of it like we're preserving habitats, certain endangered. So these are endangered species. Okay.
okay. Endangered
So
species, got it.
they've been identified by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as species that are in danger of going extinct, right? And
Okay,
so
got it.
the goal is to obviously save the species, and
Yeah,
by doing that, it's saving their habitat, right? So
got
in
it. So they're
Florida,
like they're like Habitat for Humanity for species. Okay,
yes. So,
okay,
uh, exactly. So in Florida, so we have Florida panther, and so you will see that you'll see panther conservation banks primarily in South Florida because
interesting.
that's where their territory is. You
So the
have
zoo is not a conservation. They don't count
no,
that one.
no,
Okay,
no.
got it. All
It's
right, let me
and it's
check.
again preserving their habitat. So it's a conserving their habitat. What the thought
Okay,
process is, and we didn't really talk much about this, but mitigation banks, conservation banks, same concept. It's large tracts of land that we have very tight conservation easement on there. That means these lands are this acreage, this land is never, ever, ever, ever going to get developed. We're creating and enhancing that land. So for species, it would be their habitat, which gives them the opportunity to move, right?
okay,
And feel safe. Because if it's not going to get developed, then they're going to be safe. They're not going to have to like cross roadways. That's what we see with
okay.
panthers a lot.
So
We
then,
see a
if you
lot
have
of
a
mortality
development,
because of that.
so if you have a development, and then let's say that you have a species on there now, and then you're like, oh snap, I have a Florida panther, right, on my development. So they need to contact you. Oh, well, they need to go through the agency. They need to find the agency, make sure this is confirmed, and then they're contacting you, like in a sense of, okay, we need some kind of credit to move this. They move it to a habitat, or how does that? How does
So
that work?
yeah,
That's
it's a little
interesting.
different. Yeah, so it's a little different. So for panthers, well, anywhere is you have what we call service areas. So it's identified areas where these endangered species are known to live, roam, whatever. And it's in certain, there's literally maps that show where their habitat is. And if particularly for the Florida panther, they have what they call different dispersal zones, and
Okay.
depending on where you're impacting, if it's in one of your zones, you
Hmm.
even if they aren't going out and looking to see if there's a Florida panther on your site to impact, if you're impacting on that habitats, then you're
Yeah.
going to have to buy panther credits, right?
Okay.
One of the banks that I represent is a sand skink, and that would be more in your
Oh, I
backyard.
know about the sand skeet. I have that in my
Yes.
dictionary. Okay, I know
Yeah,
about the
so
pain in the ass.
the Lake Wales Ridge, again, it's a service area where they're known to roam. And it's honestly, here's a fun fact about sand skinks. Florida and the Florida Ridge is the only place in the world where these sand sinks are found.
No
Um,
way. That's
mhm.
interesting. We actually, yeah, I remember on one of my developments, the environmentalists brought up a sand ski. Like we would have to do a sand ski,
Yes,
and
you have to see
assert
if there's
or
track, a survey to see if there's
yeah,
tracks.
yeah. And
Yep.
I was like, and then you look at a sand ski, it actually looks like what the snake would be in the Adam and Eve story. It looks like a
It's
snake
a
with
legless
tiny
lizard. Is what?
legs.
Yeah. Yep. There's
Yeah, it's
yeah.
super
It's
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I've never even. He's got a cool
hmm
name though, Sandskeek. I mean,
hmm
he definitely gets in probably for free wherever
Yeah.
he wants. So
Yeah.
interesting.
So they really love that sugar sand, So I would like where citrus groves used to be, that's kind of their big where they like to go
Okay,
swimming around. That's their habitat. So
got
again,
it.
kind of like you were told, at, if you're developing in their service area, there are certain time frames of the year. I mean, this is what
Yeah,
makes, I would say, um, and species habitat conservation banking and credits for more unique than wetlands, because a lot of times you have certain times of the year that you can survey, or you're just going to have to assume occupancy, which means you're going to just buy credits, whether or not you know.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, but it's preserving their habitat again,
okay.
and the concept's the same. You want it as close to the impact as possible. And it's not, and I will tell you, even for sand skinks, I hate to say this, it's not like you're gonna be relocating and going out there with a little bucket to relocate sand skinks. That's not what happens. You need
So
to,
do we
it's
not
kind of
want to
like
talk about? So what happens? Do they like?
you're
Do
hopefully
they
like,
do?
so you're enhancing their habitat. So hopefully you will
Oh, they're gonna
kind of,
move. Okay, scoot
that's
them.
the theory. Yes.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like okay. Those are things that
Yeah.
nobody talks about.
Now,
Okay,
one of the things you do, and I know you also know about this, is gopher tortoises, which
I do know
is,
about gopher tortoise and
yes, and
pain in the
those
ass,
yes, so those are relocated. Um,
and you got to
and
catch them.
yes, well, and you have to be authorized to do so, right?
Yep.
So,
You
and
can't
then
just use
there,
peanut butter and put it in the hole.
no,
And I'm
no
not saying
cages
anybody's
allowed.
ever done that before, but I'm just saying that if you do put
Yeah,
peanut
it's not
butter,
that
you,
simple, right?
yeah,
Right.
and you put an air tag in the peanut butter, like it's not
Yeah, it's not that simple.
so. No,
Yeah,
I'm not
so
saying I ever did that,
yeah,
but
our little
okay.
gopher tortoise, cute little friends do get relocated. You have to, that's a whole nother process. And
Yeah.
I would say that, that kind of ties in a lot with wetlands because you see them, especially in like Central Florida. They love to burrow, and they're
Can
very,
I
very
bring up?
common.
I want to add
Yes.
something to this. So when it comes to gopher tortoises, so this is what I found out, and there's great articles on gopher tortoises can ruin a development. And the main reason why is because they're, burrowing into the ground. What happens is then it creates basically a hole wherever your foundation is. So it can actually create these little mini sinkholes
Mm-hmm.
all through a property. And they're diggers. Boy, they are really good at digging.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you do not want to have any gopher tortoises at all. And you want to get the studies done, even if there's
Mm-hmm.
a hint of a gopher tortoise, is like you just want to get that taken care of. And probably your state, this is not an issue. I'm just talking about people that potentially this could be an issue if you're developing in a state that, a panther or species. What I have learned is now, especially like learning so much more from you, has been like, you want to have this on our checklist of everything: wetlands, streams, species. Like you just want to have this during your due diligence period and not get caught off guard, because it's kind of like, you just drove the new car and out of nowhere, you're like, damn, two flat tires. What just happened, Elon? Why did you just give me these tires? Like, it's
Yeah.
unexpected.
Yeah.
And especially nobody likes getting, a $40,000 bill that you weren't even thinking about because of
Exactly.
a wetland credit, a stream credit, or a species credit, and they were all uninvited guests, so
Yeah.
it's like, all right. So I just
Yep.
wanted to make sure that gets, now you did bring up something related to mitigation banks. And I kind of want to ask you about that because you said you represent mitigation banks. That
Yes.
means people or developers are developing mitigation banks for obviously for profit. So is
Mm-hmm.
this, talk to me about that. Like, how is that? probably have developers thinking about that. I don't know, or they have a lot of land and they're thinking about like probably I could be a mitigation bank, or is it even profitable? I don't know. You want to share and
Yeah.
give a little bit of insight on that one?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so um, I think one of the keys, because I get, calls on this is, we want, first of all, it has to be a sizable tract of land. 10
What does
acres.
sizable mean to you?
Yes. So 10 acres is not going to cut it. 30
10
acres,
minutes.
not going to
Okay.
cut it. We're talking hundreds to thousands.
Okay. Okay. So
Um,
this is probably going to be the Mormon church or the Catholic church.
So, and a lot of it, and I will say, like when the industry first started, it was a lot of what we call mom and pops. It was people who have,
Okay.
and
Oh, the
actually
citrus
several
groves and stuff.
citrus grows a lot, especially for like sand skink banks. A lot of ranchers.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In fact, I have a couple of banks I represent, and they're on ranches. I mean, and they're owned by the ranchers themselves. So,
That's super cool.
yeah, and it's actually a fun fact. And we do have some that are developers that have, that have excess large tracts of land.
Oh, you have hedge
That
funds too, right? Correct, that you
so
represent?
yes, we have what we call green investors that are coming in and building these banks. But there's a lot of due diligence that goes in. It's not like a build it and they will come kind of concept. I mean, you want to make sure it's in a market. Hence why I did market research for a lot of these companies. Is you want to make sure you're actually putting these banks in an area where people are going to need the credits, because there's a lot of upfront costs. People think, oh, they make so much money, I'm spending all this money on credits, and it's a racket, right?
Yeah.
Well, what they don't realize is that, especially think about how much land costs, and especially now, just ag land alone per acre is way more expensive than it was. We're not typically talking a $3,000 an acre tract anymore, right?
No,
It's
not anymore.
much
It's
more.
not
And
your grandpa's
especially,
grandpa's place.
no, and especially in our constrained areas, if you can find large enough tracts of land, it'll be a miracle. And
Yeah.
you're going to pay a pretty penny for that. So, kind of thinking about, as you're thinking about these wetland credit costs, that's kind of what's built into it is they've had to pay lots of money up front just to buy the land.
Okay.
And then they're paying somebody to permit it. They have to get permitted, just like you have to get an impact permit. We have to get a permit to actually build these banks, right?
Mm.
And that typically takes anywhere from a year and a half up to 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So
So this is
you're
a commitment.
pouring money in. Yes, it's a big commitment, pouring money in. And once you finally get that approval, um, you have to then pay. So you're paying permitting costs, and then you're paying cost to file a conservation easement. I mentioned that earlier. You have to put a conservation easement that prevents, and it's a very strict. It's way probably stricter than any CE you've ever seen. Um,
Wait up.
Again,
CE, what
zero
does that mean? You're using the acronym.
conservation easement.
Okay,
CE is
got
the
it.
conservation easement.
All right. So big words.
That
Big.
it, yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah. So we like to use acronyms. Okay, that's
Yes,
just
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
how we roll.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many times do you say conservation easement, right?
It's very true.
In a row.
Yeah. I'll take
So
2 of the controversy with the
yeah,
caramel macchiato
yes,
and the egg bites,
exactly.
please.
Yes,
Thank you. And 2 herbaceous on the rocks.
that's
Sorry.
right. So we're filing conservation easements. At the same time, we have to put up what we're calling construction and implementation financial assurance. That just basically
Okay.
is putting money that says, and it's a guarantee, a financial guarantee that we are going to do this mitigation plan. We're going to
Okay.
plant. We're going to get rid of invasive species. We're going to, do whatever this litany of list of mitigation is. So there's a construction implementation,
Yep.
right? And then also we have that, plus we have to do a long-term financial assurance. That means after we've sold all the credits, after we've done all that, guess what? We're still on the hook in what we call perpetuity. So way past you and I are gone, forever and ever and ever and ever. Every year, these large tracts of land have to be monitored and maintained. So there's money that's put up front, up to like, millions of dollars, to guarantee that we're going to do what we said we are going to do. And if not, there's a fallback. There's insurance, basically.
Got it.
Right.
That makes
So,
a lot of
so
sense.
just kind of think like all that money is somebody's got to fund all that, right? Up front.
Hmm.
This is without selling one credit.
Hmm.
So it's a big commitment. It's not, it's not for the faint-hearted. And
Yeah,
there's zero guarantee that you're going to sell a credit, right? Things can change. This is a regulatory driven climate or industry, and one law passed could totally change and upend everything. So,
that's very
it's
true.
a bit, yeah, it's a bit risky. Um, Not to say like it can't be done, but there's a lot of considerations, right? To
So
do
why
these
would somebody
things.
want to do it then? I guess if it's that much risk, that long, like really, what is the benefit then?
Well, so the benefit is, you're putting in it's a feel good thing, right? Like you're doing an ecological restoration project, and
Got it.
it's a very high level It's not just like, oh, I just
And,
planted a couple of trees, right? This is
and we're
very
dealing with also people that own hundreds and thousands of acres. So those acres can't be developed anyway, right? It's not like, we
well,
put a
not with its
casino on top.
conservation easement. Yeah, that's why
Yeah,
we
I'm
put
just
this.
saying
Yeah,
it's like it's already a wetland area. That's why we're doing the one for one or a stream area or endangered area. That's why. So now that I think about it, it's already a one for one basis.
mm-hmm,
So they have to do something with it. So they might as well make some money off of it if they have the money to invest into it. Is
mm-hmm,
that is that am I
mm-hmm.
close?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
that's a good concept. Yeah, I mean it's
got
a
it.
little
And
more
there,
complex than that, but yes,
yeah, I'm
it's
doing my
very
best to
specific.
not be
Yeah.
super complex with it.
That's I guess that's what makes this industry kind of niche is that it is a complex industry.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it.
Hmm.
But I will say, and you could probably, once you kind of break it all down, as complex as it seems, and I know people are like, I don't even know what's going on. It's really a very simple process. Like buying credits is not it can be done in a day. I mean, if you really wanted to. It's not like
Yeah.
this
and it and
super
it possibly could affect
arduous
anybody.
task.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I
to
do want
add
to
what
make
you're saying
sure.
is like you said,
Yeah.
single family homeowners sometimes you're dealing with,
Yeah.
even to, and you were telling me like you've dealt with the villages, and if people don't know what that is, that's a ginormous development. We can go back to the airport. You said the airport. You've dealt with mom and pop, which again,
Everything.
you're going to have
Yeah.
to, if you live in Florida or in the Sunbelt, at least be aware. Hopefully, you're listening to this. Be aware of it. I'm not saying you're going to deal with it, but just be aware.
Mhm.
You're learning something new. And then on the airport, for example, like share with me about that. Like that's a huge deal. But why are they calling you? Like what's going on over there?
Yeah. So they knew that they were going to, well in advance, they knew they had wetlands on site, right?
Got it.
And one thing, just kind of like a FYI, on airports, one of the things that the Federal Aviation Authority is very like does not like is having any kind of like mitigation on site. That used to be what airports did a lot, but you've heard of bird strikes and airplanes. They kind of don't go together, right? When
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen the movie.
so
Got it.
yeah, and water attracts birds, as we
That is
might,
true.
if you
That is
kind of
true.
think about that. So
Yeah, it's usually not
obviously,
always on my mind, but right
yeah,
now it
yeah,
is.
yeah. You would be if you were flying an airplane and they struck a bird. I
Yeah,
mean,
a hundred
it's
percent.
not
I would.
not something you want to be involved with.
Yeah.
So I would say, so that was kind of the concept, and they knew that they were going to do some pretty large expansions in the near future, and um, buying these credits as they came available really was the simple answer to them, because guess what, they didn't have to do the mitigation on site. They weren't on the hook for it. That's kind of the
Mhm.
nice thing about mitigation bank credits and buying them is you write your check and guess what, you're done. Like it's a one and done. um,
Interesting.
that mitigation bank takes on all your mitigation liability. So whereas if you were trying to do the mitigation yourself, you're going to have the regulatory agency on you for a minimum of 5 years. And so every year you have to prove, hey,
Really? Okay.
I'm doing what I did. Look what I did. You're sending in reports, you're doing all this stuff. And a lot of times those kind of the on-site mitigation kind of fails, and you're going to end up having to buy credits anyway. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, it makes life so much easier. You write your check, you're done. Mitigation bank takes on the liability.
Good to
It's
go.
you're good to go. You're good to go.
Interesting.
And even in that, just we've talked, want to talk kind of and finish up that process of buying a credit.
Yeah.
Once you pay for those credits, but there is a formal documentation process that is done with the regulators where we're modifying our mitigation bank ledger in a formal
Hmm.
method that shows we've applied, for your example, for your project, 0.05 credits, forested credits
Yeah.
to X permit number, your permit number, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to forever and ever, ever be tied. So even if you sell your property, you'll always have proof that you've had the mitigation's been done on that site. So it doesn't matter that if you've owned it and then you've sold it to somebody else, it's not
Yeah.
like it has to be mitigated again,
And
right?
with her help, just to add, was technically in the beginning it was point 0.3. And the guy or the bank that we're buying from said, well, they have a minimum buy of 25,000. I think that's what it was, or 15,
Mm-hmm.
25, one of the two. Kay was the one that brought it up, says, well, why don't you just see if you're ever going to expand ever, you might as well just get more of a credit because he already has a per credit, fee. So it's a per credit. So we're like, all right, well, so if we go by his ratio or the bank's ratio, the mitigation bank's ratio, then technically we should be able to buy zero point 0.5 instead of the 0.3 because
Mm-hmm.
now we're just going to bump it up. So initially they said no until we actually had to get the SWIFMA to give us a new paper saying, hey, we can buy up to zero
Mm-hmm.
point 0.5, and then that changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely interesting because you don't even think about that,
Nope.
so, and now that kind of ties me into the next question, which would be, what is the difference between a developer saying, hey, I'm just going to call this mitigation bank, then use you? What is the difference? To me, I hopefully I'm showing somebody the biggest difference is that you don't know nothing about this, so you might as well get with somebody that actually is an expert at it,
Yeah.
rather than not. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I think some there's several different benefits. One is a lot of times you don't even really know which bank to go to, right? And
That's true.
so, yeah. And so I honestly know all the banks in Florida. I know how to, if I don't represent the bank, I certainly know how to connect you to the right person. And that actually happened with one of your projects, right? Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like I could personally help you with the transaction, but I did get you connected and kind of
Yeah.
helped you through that process, which made it easier. I
Yeah.
have been in this industry for 16 years and have learned quite a bit, I have to say.
Yep.
And it's,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to make the process simple and easy.
Mm-hmm.
My whole goal in life, and what I do is to be as efficient and effective as possible and make
Love
things
that.
so simple for you. Like you're going to like blink and you're going to be done. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really kind of my role in all of this. And so it's kind of like I say, massage the process and make that transaction as easy for you as possible.
I love
And
that.
it
So,
doesn't cost you, the developer, one cent more
yeah,
to
that's
do
what I
it.
was gonna say. It was like, I would say it probably saves us a lot of time and headache because of using somebody who
Mm-hmm.
already knows it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where do you see the industry headed in the next 5 or 10 years in the wetland credits or mitigation bank industry? Like, what's your view on that?
Um, I honestly see it becoming more sophisticated. So I think you're going to see, and we're already starting to see like less of like I was talking about these mom and pops. It's a lot more becoming more sophisticated money. You're going to see
Okay.
a lot more banks popping up.
Okay. So
Yeah, and
probably
I
it's going to
say
bring down the cost of credits because
yes,
of that.
yes, yeah. So hopefully the goal is to have more supply, right? Because, and
Got
I
it.
will
Yeah, because
say one thing that
Florida's
I really,
population is growing. So
yeah, and I will say Florida, I've seen, and I have to big shout out to develop. Like I really feel like they've really embraced mitigation bank credits,
mm,
and they've started to really understand like this makes my life so much easier if I just buy the credits and I'm done.
got it.
Um, just and so I think we're going to start seeing that happen more and more. The only thing that makes me a little hesitant is that I did mention it is a regulatory driven market. That means like in certain aspects, especially outside of Florida, that there's a what's called Waters of the US, and which is driven by our federal administration. They get to dictate what's considered
Okay.
waters of the US. And we do see a lot of, I guess, kind of a lot of movement, a lot of waves. So it kind of rolls back and forth depending on
So it's
the
kind of like
administration and office.
the which way the
So
wind blows kind of thing.
yeah, so I that's why I said earlier, and I'll say it again. It's been pretty unique the last couple of years, a little more unique than it's been ever since I've been in this industry. So it's very hard to predict where things may be in 5 years. But
Okay.
my hope is that we will start seeing even more banks, and the other thing that we're starting to see too is even water quality banks. So,
Okay. Interesting.
developers have learned that there is a new stormwater rule that became in effect December 29th of 2025, that is way more strict, way more stringent. And one of the nice things about these mitigation bankers and these ecological markets is they're starting to respond to some of these new regulations so that it's not just wetlands and streams. Now we're kind of going over to water quality, right? So we're again
Hmm.
trying to be responsive to developers' needs,
So you just
and
can't
in
use
a
a
very
filter. They don't have a filter. You
no,
can't.
no, it's
No.
not that
Okay.
simple.
Got it. Just I
Mm-mm.
thought that would be
Yeah,
easy.
yeah,
So
it's
is there? What about technology? With AI and all this other, is there like that going to be? Does it? Where do you see that going? How is that going to change mitigate? Does that change anything? Do you think, or what's your view on that?
I think if it changes anything or where that might get incorporated more is probably the types of mitigation that you're going to start seeing and how like the different mitigation activities, right? I think it's going to be more effective in the planning process,
Okay.
not less probably so much in the implementation, but more in the
Interesting.
planning piece of that.
Okay. Interesting. And
Yeah.
then, what do you feel is the most rewarding part about you building EcoCredit Marketing, your company? Like, what is the most
Yeah.
rewarding for you?
Well, honestly, I
No, lie
love
to me. Lie. I want you.
I do that frequently. No,
Go ahead.
I truly and genuinely just love talking to people and meeting so many different people in different aspects of life,
I can
different
attest to
walks
that.
of life.
Yeah,
It really fills my cup, and
that means
I can also feel really good about what I'm doing. So I
your
don't.
acts of service and possibly words of affirmation as your love language. Got
Yes,
it.
it's
Keep going.
it's very very important to me, and I can feel good, like restoring the ecology of our, world is really something I can feel proud about.
That's super
Um,
cool.
yeah, so I've never coined myself as a really a salesperson because quite frankly, I'm not. I don't really like salespeople to be if we're
Yeah,
going to cut away and peel back
yeah.
the onion layers. I really am not a sales person. I am a people person. And relationships matter to me. And that's why, I feel very blessed to be able to do what I do because every walk of life, and there's probably not one day that goes by that I don't feel like I've helped somebody in some way. And
That's
that to
awesome.
me, yeah, is that return alone, and as cliche and as cheesy as that sounds, that really is why I do what I do.
Yeah, that's not completely cheesy. I mean, it's probably like 10% cheesy. Everything
Okay,
else is pretty
well,
good, though. Yeah, that's not bad.
that's okay. I can
Yeah,
embrace cheesiness. It's all good.
yeah. 10% is not a bad ratio to
No,
set
no.
point. So, what would you tell somebody who's thinking about starting a business in a niche industry similar to yours? What would you tell them?
I would certainly encourage research first and foremost. Know
Okay.
what you're getting into. I say this all the time, and I even tell my clients this too, like knowledge is power, right? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
the more you
Knowledge and
know,
skill sets. You're right.
the more you know how to position yourself.
Hmm.
So you need to really do some considerable due diligence before you just launch in. I've seen lots of people just kind of do like knee jerk and just like, oh, I'm just going off all in. And while I admire that to some degree, there's some caution that needs to be, and some research that needs to be done first and foremost.
Yeah, due diligence. Like,
And I, no matter what you're doing, whether it's in mitigation bank, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I think you have to be in it for the long haul. Like you can't just, every day is not going to be easy.
so
You're not going to be like rolling in the dough right away,
no,
right? Like
no. I've
it's,
definitely
and
learned
it's
lessons on that.
arduous, it's hard, but it's rewarding.
Mm.
At the end of the day, it's very rewarding. And you get to feel good about, look at what I built.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me, I look at it almost like, to add what you're saying is business is like you're literally building a home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, when you're building, as now, I've been in development now 6+ years, right? And so now I've learned, like, wow, we spent a lot of time on the due diligence. On this property that I'm in right now, this is a church on a 9-acre site, but I've spent 4 years of my life coming up with concepts and plans, and potentially we were going to sell it off, and now we're going to develop it, and now we've got some last minute things we got to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that time, and we still haven't even got to the foundation part, right? But I've learned so much. I kind of look at it as the same thing as a niche business, is that I have been taking action. So this is not research. This is me actually doing and getting contracts and learning the business, having conversations, failing, falling, eating glass, staring at the abyss, crying sideways. You're just like, okay, do I have tear ducts left? I don't even know. All these things that come up because you're just constantly sometimes getting punched in the face, silently. I would say it's the silent punch.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do have some breakthroughs, right? And then
Absolutely.
you do have some wins. And I find it really encouraging, because I know that your business is doing so well, but I knew in the beginning, you also went through some personal ups and downs. You went through business ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
You do not come from a lineage of business. So it's not like, your family money,
Right.
at all. You're
no.
not,
Not at all.
so these things, it wasn't handed to you, like you're not entitled,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and I think it's for anybody listening to this, it's just, I would say, it's like, just don't quit. It's like,
Absolutely.
if you just don't quit.
Stay focused on your goals, right?
Yeah.
Know your long-term vision and stay focused.
Yeah. And it's
And
like,
we've talked about this. We've talked about this before, is there's always one thing you can do every day to kind of move that ball forward.
yes.
And that's really, I think that's the key too, is so it's very, very easy to get bogged down in that day-to-day grind.
Yes.
But we always have to force ourselves to kind of, I like to lift ourselves up and see the bigger picture, see where you've come from, and express gratefulness and appreciation every day, see that longer term view, and stay focused and keep moving. Even if it's just half an inch, do what it takes a little bit every day to keep, and some days you're going to maybe move it 5 inches, right? And then there's days you feel like, okay, but as long as you keep moving forward and you're keeping your eyes on that goal, I think you're going to be set,
Yeah. Yeah. Just have to add to that point would be, what comes up for me is be committed and not attached. Be committed that it one day works, but not attached when it works. That's the only thing. And I guess for me, even myself, I've had to, as I've gotten older with at least 3 more gray hairs, I've learned that.
Lucky you.
and with no Sharpie at all.
Yeah. All right.
So what I've learned though is that in the beginning I was very impatient. I want to make $1 million in a year. I want to do this, and what I learned was like, oh, it's not about that. It's really, there's a great, and I know you come from a very biblical background as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this great thing that I remember King Solomon, and he had the vision, and then God said, what do you want? And he says, well, I just want wisdom to lead your people. And the creator said, because you did not ask for riches, because you didn't ask for cattle, land, or destroying your enemies, I will give it to you all.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that, because I tell my kids that as well. And sometimes I have to remind myself of that, which
Mhm.
is like, wisdom is the key. The knowledge is the key. The experience is the key. The education, the skill sets, layering skill set after skill set after skill set is the key. You went from reading books at a library to meeting a lady to, killing your ego enough because you didn't have
Mhm.
to. You're a
Mhm.
college educated, beautiful young woman, and then you're like, I'm going to work for you for peanuts? Nah, what the fuck, and then you did it, right? And then 16 years later, you're bigger than she possibly ever was in business, dealing with hedge funds, major
Mhm.
corporations, all these different things, all because you never asked for anything other than wisdom. You just say, just give me wisdom. And to me, the creator gave it to you all.
Mhm.
So, with that, what would be your last thing that you would say, I guess, related to that? Or what would you say somebody
No,
like
I love that you said that because, and now that you mention it, I will say it is almost a daily, like I start my morning with the request for um for discernment. So this is kind of how I get into my day is I want discernment first and foremost, right? Because that's
Mhm.
success to me. Like I need wisdom and guide. I have people that work for me and I need to know. And I need this, whether it's intuition, divine guidance, just like wisdom. And
Yeah.
I also want to add, wisdom doesn't come overnight, right? Wisdom is,
No.
and it's, you and I have talked about this before too. A lot of wisdom comes from failure. And one of the things I tell my people constantly when they come to me like, oh, like this really sucked for me. I'm like, listen, the best learning experiences I have personally dealt with and have been the greatest lessons in my life. And I'm going to tell you, you
Yeah.
make a mistake. If you are open to it and you're receptive, you're not going to make that same mistake twice.
No.
And it means more and it's ingrained more when you make mistakes to prevent it from happening again. So, and that's really and truly where the greatest wisdom can come from is our
100%.
failures.
Because you won't
Um,
forget it. That's the
you
thing.
don't forget it. No.
Yeah, you
So
won't forget
I
it.
think instead of beating yourself up and like just feeling woeful about oh, this failed or this didn't happen,
Yeah.
that failure is guess what doesn't work. Well, now you're one step closer to figuring out what does work, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Right.
and no and I don't want to add to what you're saying. Sometimes it's okay. It hit me today was sometimes it's okay to have a pressure release moment. And what I mean
Absolutely.
by
Oh,
that
100%.
is like
Yes.
I got it. Like I'm dealing with, project and you know, out of nowhere, my pressure release was like, okay, and I'm crying. Why? Right? It's like, I was like, physically,
Yes.
nothing is happening to me. And what I learned was, after I did my own research, was this like, your body, your nervous system is going to release. And other people release
Yep.
in different ways. Like I work
Yep.
out, I run, I sweat a lot. Some other people, their pressure releases, I want to drink and not I want to forget what the hell's happening right now. Sometimes your body out of nowhere, you're just like, why am I crying? Your nervous system knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's okay even as a
A
man, it
hundred
doesn't,
percent. A
it's okay.
hundred
You're just like,
percent.
okay, I don't know why this is happening, but obviously I'm going to still
You
have to
need
take out the
it.
trash. And so I was like, we're going to have to go outside like this. This is great. Double tearing. All righty. Who else can do that? Right here. So it is what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just sharing
A
with,
hundred. No. And
you
I'm
know,
glad you said that because especially owning you're going to have moments of just like you feel like you're falling apart, right? And I
Yeah.
think that that's totally fine. The other piece of that is you just can't stay there, right?
Yes.
Like you allow yourself to have that moment
Yeah.
and give yourself grace
Yeah.
to have that moment, but also
Yep.
know like I can't stay here for
Yeah.
days
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
right? So, and
Yeah.
guess
I
what? You
agree.
may have that moment, you pick yourself up and you forge ahead, and the
Yep.
next day you may have another moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it might happen, whatever. Listen to your
Yeah.
body, but just keep going
Yeah.
and
100%.
learn.
Yeah. I love that. I love that because you're so right in so many levels on that aspect. Just like keep moving. Probably I would add to that another layer is like, and don't enroll people in what's going on. You're allowed to like talk about it a little bit, get over
Yes.
it, but don't
Yes.
enroll because now you got to tell grandma and your mother and your sister, and they want updates of your story. And then now every single
It's
time
not
Aunt
a,
Poochie calls
mhm,
and your Aunt Cookie calls,
mhm.
and then your Uncle George and Uncle Charlie's going to call. And they're like, hey, what's the
Yeah.
update on this? I'm like, God dang, I got to update you like a damn, what's going on
Yeah.
here, like a news feed. And
Yeah.
you keep on getting back into that story
Hmm.
rather than what I have found as I got older is like, okay, I'm a grown ass man. Let me, if I got to keep it, if I want to gain wisdom from a couple people that I know have been there, done that, let me just share. And probably I got a blind spot. Probably I just have a
Hmm.
blind spot I don't see because I can't
Hmm.
see behind me. Even though it looks like I can because of my hair, I cannot see behind me. Right. And so it is what it is.
Yeah.
And you're so right. Keep on pushing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's like, and really, the more that I've had this discussion and this podcast, anybody that's listening to this, be encouraged because again, she just came from reading at a library to now have done over $100 million worth of transactions, have worked with the biggest of the biggest of companies, have been in the rooms and she's the expert in this field. So they're listening to her, but coming from just being a mom who was just out of the library, and then look what has happened now. You
Hmm.
know, owns her own business, very successful. Doing extremely huge things. Seriously, if you're a woman listening to this as well, like this is somebody that you want to look up to. So, Kate, any last words before we get off of here?
No, I just am grateful for the opportunity to kind of share my story.
Mhm.
I really do truly care about people, and especially people that feel like they don't have a voice.
Yeah,
I love to be, the listening ear, the person that, what, I see you, I hear you,
I love
and
that.
I'll champion for you if I need to. And would certainly welcome any feedback if anybody would like to, know more, whether
Yeah,
it's about wetlands, my story, how I can encourage them, mentor
yeah.
them.
So
Would love to do that.
how would they
So
reach out to you? Where do they go? What's the website?
it's a little long, but it's ecocreditmarketing.com. My phone number is
EcoCreditMarketing.com. Yep,
blast.com. Yep.
got it.
Phone
Okay.
numbers blasted all over the website,
Okay.
as
Perfect.
is my email.
Okay.
And
And she's
yeah,
very, reactive when it comes down to contacting her
very
about
responsive.
her
Yes,
business. Everybody on her whole team is very responsive. I can attest to that. So definitely reach out. And yeah, we're going to call it. So this is all about wetland credits and everything else. And so if anybody else is listening to this, again, go to ecocreditmarketing.com for anything dealing with that world of wetland credits, stream credits. What is the other one as well? The species
species.
credits as well. And then again, my name is Franklin Cruz from True Investors Development. If you've got a development that you want to scale it up, go to trueinvestors.com. If we can consult, great. If we can't, there's a bunch of education on there. Hopefully that helps you as well. So thank you again, Kay, so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. You can stay on because we'll drop it right in.
Yes.
Three,
Okay.
two, one.